Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Edna Zhe.
And I'm Raymond Yang. Here are tonight's top stories. Carrie Lam refused to apologize for not declaring a holiday yesterday as thousands struggled to get to work after typhoon.
Consumer watchdog finds majority of tested vitamin supplements are beyond recommended intake levels.
And same-sex partners can apply for dependent visas starting tomorrow, but government stresses gay marriage still not recognized.
Chief Executive Carrie Lam has refused to apologize for not ordering a holiday for all workers yesterday, a day after Typhoon Mangkhut slammed into the city and caused commuter chaos.
Lam cited the lack of legal grounds as one reason for not declaring a day off. Karina reports.
A day after Typhoon Mangkhut pummeled the city, residents were met with chaos at MTR stations. Hundreds of thousands of commuters were left helpless as stations were either closed or trains ran at reduced intervals, causing a backlog that stretched for hours. Buses weren't an alternative transport option since many roads were blocked by fallen trees and debris. Critics slammed the government for not declaring a holiday yesterday, accusing it of putting residents' lives at risk. Speaking ahead of the weekly Executive Council meeting this morning, Chief Executive Carrie Lam refused to apologize. She said the government had done all it could to get the city back to normal.
Well, I don't think the government has put any citizen's life at risk. I have personally made repeated appeals to employers that this is a sort of situation that we need more understanding, accommodation, and mutual support.
Lam's decision not to grant workers a day off was also due to legal considerations. She said there was no mechanism in place on how to calculate the legal consequences of such a decision. But that wasn't enough for netizens who expressed their anger in creative ways. The chief executive said it was fine for people to vent, but stressed that it would have been irresponsible to declare a holiday without legal grounds. Suggestions for her to invoke the Emergency Regulations Ordinance were also rejected by Lam. The law gives the chief executive the power to make regulations during an emergency or if there was danger to the public. However, she believed that making appeals to employers was more effective. As an employer of 180,000 civil servants, Lam said the government exercised discretion. Lam claimed she had told civil servants internally yesterday to call their superiors and let them know they would be late or unable to make it to work due to transport problems. No penalty would be applied for anyone who was late or absent. But some civil servants said they didn't get the memo and management had only received a notice at 3 p.m., close to quitting time for most government workers. The chief executive admitted there was room for improvement of internal communication, and she had asked the security chief to review all measures. Karina Yang, HKIBC.
The Consumer Council wants the government to enact tighter rules on vitamin supplements after it found 80% of tested samples were beyond recommended daily intake levels.
The watchdog also warned expectant mothers not to take excessive amounts of popular prenatal vitamin, folic acid. Popping vitamins may be an easy and convenient way for adults, children and the elderly to get their daily nutritional intake. But the Consumer Council is warning buyers to watch their consumption levels of vitamin supplements. The watchdog surveyed 76 samples of multi or single vitamin supplements. Results showed 80% of them went beyond levels set by the Pharmacy and Poisons Ordinance. Only 16 supplements were registered as pharmaceutical products. 9 samples had dosages equivalent or in excess of the daily tolerable upper intake level. 5 samples were adult vitamins, while the rest were for children.
Excessive intake of vitamin supplement over a prolonged period of time does not confer health benefits and may lead to adverse effects, especially those fat-soluble vitamin A, D, E, and K.
Many pregnant women take prenatal vitamins containing folic acid, which reduces the risk of the fetus developing neural tube defects. But 2 vitamin samples recommended consumers ingest levels that exceeded the daily tolerable upper intake level for folic acid and vitamin B. Research has shown that an intake of over 1,000 micrograms could increase the chances of neurodevelopment problems or autism disorders of the fetus, while long-term excessive intake of vitamin B can cause nerve diseases and skin problems. The watchdog called on the government to enact regulations of supplements.
So there are much stronger regulations to regulate these kind of health products, how they produce, how they market in the product, and also the surveillance is even stronger. So we think, in Hong Kong we should make reference to this all the different practices overseas, but so that the consumers can be better protected by taking all these kind of different health foods.
The council also advised parents to pay attention to vitamin candies. It warned that excessive consumption by children could be harmful to their health. Starting tomorrow, same-sex partners will be recognized by the government when it processes dependent visa applications, following a landmark court ruling in July.
Security Chief John Lee emphasized that the amendment only concerned the immigration policy and did not mean that the government recognized same-sex marriages in Hong Kong. In a landmark ruling in July, the Court of Final Appeal had ruled in favor of a lesbian expat who had challenged the government's refusal to vet a dependent visa application from her partner. 5 justices from the top court unanimously ruled that the Immigration Department must recognize the marriage status and civil union partnerships of same-sex couples when considering dependent visa applications. But the city's definition of marriage, which states that it is only between a man and a woman,